What's up, guys? Back again with Gabriel. Perfect time of the year to talk football. NFL draft season is officially underway. We're less than 2 weeks away from free agency. I think about 10 days right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, right around 10 days.
Wait for Monday.
Yeah, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good.
So, I know the combine is probably one of my favorite times of the year. Greg, I know you don't get as excited about it, but as fans, I think being able to see some of these players side by side, seeing how they look physically, and a lot of fans, especially ones that don't scout players or follow college football like we do, they've never seen these guys. They don't know what their personality's like, so it's their first time ever hearing them talk. Some of them the first time seeing their face. I think it's a big time of the year, and the NFL draft over the years. I mean, even back when I was a kid, probably way more even for you, but NFL draft wasn't as big as a spectacle as it is today. Now it's such a huge deal, and it's my favorite time.
Yeah. Can you imagine, the first time they took it out in New York, 2 years in a row, we had it in Chicago.
Yep. I was there both years.
Okay. And did a good job. Now, on the second year, day 3 got rained out. So, okay. I mean, I was doing a show, day 3, both years. And the second year I had to do it from the studio at the Score instead of down at the draft.
Oh, okay.
And the year before we were in Radio Row. So I did it with Hub Arkish and Pompey. And, it was a lot of fun, but we got washed out. But can you imagine that now after we've seen how it's grown and been to different cities, that if they brought it back, how big it would be?
Oh, man, I think it'd be even crazier. I think they might have to do it a little bit differently. It was a little hectic, especially the first year it was in Chicago. It was a little.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first time the league had done it. But I would think it'll happen again, but it won't happen until the stadium is built.
The new stadium.
Yeah, and it looks like now it's going to be in Arlington Heights, which should have been. They just wasted time fiddling around with downtown. They're going to have that big, huge campus there. And so it'll be
like the little town area around it. That's one of the reasons I hate Green Bay. And I've actually never even been to Green Bay my whole life. I've stayed away. But I would actually probably not mind going to the draft this year just to see if you've seen their they have like a little hub area, Fanville.
I did that when I was working for the Bears. I think I went to all but one game up in Green Bay, and that was a Thanksgiving game I didn't go to.
Okay. So I think that's a perfect kind of venue to have the NFL draft, and based on everything Kevin Warren has talked about and all of the projections, that's been part of his plan the entire time. And Arlington Heights presents a better opportunity.
Oh, yeah. I just look at the idea of making money. I mean, that's why you do this.
It's like Bearstown there, man.
Downtown, you don't own anything. You got to rent the stadium. You don't control the stadium. Where Arlington Heights, they control everything. They control even what goes up around, because they're going to be selling property or leasing property or whatever for buildings to go up, be it hotels, restaurants, shops, all sorts of things. That is going to be just a license to print money for the Chicago Bears. That's why I always thought, why are they even talking downtown? It just doesn't make any sense.
I always thought it was going to go to Arlington.
So did I. To me, it was just a waste of time doing the downtown thing. But hey, maybe just wanted to get it out of the system because there were some people that were pushing for it. But it's the right place. People say, well, it's not in Chicago. Well, hell, most of the stadiums in the league aren't in the city, like half of them.
Yeah. It's kind of how things work. And when you're in the city, I mean, the parking and all the other things that go along with it.
Yeah.
It's tough. But yesterday, the biggest news that dropped, other than the NFL Combine, is the Chiefs did finally put that franchise tag on Trey Smith. So 10 days before free agency now, I kind of always thought they would work something out. But I had hope, man. I got to hope because the Chiefs did have some questions with the cap, and I kind of thought there was a chance they might spend the money on Nick Bolton, who was the leader of their defense.
Well, they still can. There was a post put out by Spotrac, and last night, and he showed how um, the Chiefs can turn money into cap dollars, and a lot of it's just the roster bonuses that Kelsey, Mahomes, Jones, and some other guys got to get. And I mean, and that alone will more than pay for Smith. But you knew it was going to happen. They're still going to have to cut some guys.
No, when you do that, though, it is pushing the money down. You don't get it off the books. You're just pushing it down the road.
Yeah, you're sooner or later you got to pay, but also the cap's going up every year. So you look at it from that standpoint. I just looked at it. Right after the Super Bowl, I said, "There's no way they're getting rid of this guy. They can't. He's their best offensive lineman, and their offensive line got killed. The problem they had was they signed Jawan Taylor 2 years ago, and he's pitiful.
Big money.
And he's got like a $25 million cap number this year. So, I mean, that's what killed him.
Well, then they gave big money to Creed Humphrey and Joe Thuney as well. And then you're talking all the big money they gave to Chris Jones, to Patrick Mahomes, to Travis Kelce. So they just, to me, they have given a lot of money, but the NFL cap is fluid, and I said it all along. There's always ways they can make it work, but if they keep pushing money down the road like this, eventually it could cause them some issues. We've seen it in New Orleans where they've had to cut
Buffalo. Buffalo was last year at this time. Buffalo was $45 million over. Okay, this year they're like 12 over right now, or something like that.
Yep.
So which and that. They got the big Josh Allen contract they can play around with. You play around with the contracts, the guy's not going anywhere.
Yep.
You can't do it to a guy like the Bears. You probably don't want to mess around with Tremaine Edmonds because you don't know how he's going to be with this new staff.
Yep.
But
with a guy like, and that's what I said. One of the things I've said, because people have asked why the Bears aren't doing this. We don't have a lot of high-paid players with huge cap hits. Even the guys we've signed to contract extensions, Jalen Johnson, Cole Kmet, Montez Sweat, and DJ Moore, all of them are relative value contracts when you compare them to the other top players at the position around the NFL.
But they can go into Jalen Johnson. Mm-hmm. They can go into DJ. If they need some money, they can do it with those guys aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Those guys do present the option, but right now with with over 80 million in cap space, it's not something we even need to do. Now, there is a guy, I got something in my eye here. There is a guy heading into free agency. I wanted to question because the Bears met with a bunch of safeties yesterday. How do you feel about Kevin Byard, and what are your thoughts on? Do you think he's for sure coming back, or do you think there's a chance we move on?
He's got a pretty good number. I mean, in all honesty, Swifty, I can't answer it because I don't know what this new staff is looking for. I'm trying to find out, but you got to wait for the right time before you make the call.
Mm-hmm.
And right now is not the right time because, everybody's busy between the combine, free agency and stuff. And part of it you'll see in free agency when you look at the type of athlete, they sign, but after that, I just don't know. And the main thing is the offensive line and the defensive line. What are they looking for profile? There's one guy I could probably call and get an answer, but again, he's at the combine, so I got to wait till that's done. But did the defensive line profile change much from last year? Did the offensive line profile change much? Are they still looking for that real athletic guy who can play in space, or can you get away with the lesser athlete but more of a mauler type guy?
Yeah, and based on what I've seen from the combine this year, they did, especially on the D line, they worked out a couple of those mauler type guys, and it made me think they might be looking to beef up the defensive tackle position, but the defensive ends they've looked at are the opposite of the guy they just cut, DeMarcus Walker, whose specialty was setting the edge and
Right.
holding up against the run. They've brought in James Pierce Jr., Michael Williams, and Shamar Stewart at DE. Those are three guys confirmed they've met with. All extremely
Well, they're
athletic.
going to, first of all, you're going to, that stuff can throw people off too.
It does. But I mean,
you meet with 45 to 50.
Here.
Yeah, you meet with 45 to 50. Sometimes you purposely meet with people you don't want. And only to, because
I will say over the last 3 years, Ryan Poles draft picks, all of our top picks have been guys we met with at the combine.
Now, I don't know if they met with CJ West. I know they're interested in CJ West.
Okay.
CJ's local, and he's a guy that.
Yeah, he's a guy we can bring in on a local. Yeah.
But they can bring him in anytime. They can bring him in 10 times if they want to.
Oh, yeah.
Local. And he doesn't count. Sure. So, but I know it's a guy they like. And you go back to the opening presser by Johnson, and to me, it stuck out like a sore thumb. He said there was a noticeable difference when Billings wasn't in the game. When
Billings wasn't in there, yeah.
And so they got to get another anchor who rotates with him. That's what they're missing. And there was really no blow against Gervon Dexter, because Billings, being the one technique or the nose, is the anchor guy, and they only had one, him.
And when he was out of the game, it was a significant drop off on our D line. Billings I think he has 1 year left on his contract after this season. He is a guy that's getting a little bit older, and he doesn't bring a lot to the pass rush game. So that's why I believe the interior of the D line is something we're definitely going to look to upgrade. One guy they brought in that does fit that mold, though, is Alfred Collins from Texas. Have you seen much on Alfred Collins?
Yeah, no, I like him, except he didn't work out as good as I was hoping he'd work out. But no, his tape is really good, and he fits that mold of that space eater that can clog up the middle that you need when Billings is out. So it's Billings. When you look at his contract, they're still stealing him for the production he has.
Huge value, yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, he is so underpaid.
He's the most underrated signing Poles has made. All the people hate on Poles. You don't ever hear him bring up Andrew Billings. Like
that guy has. I mean, even when they restructured him after 1 year. They still gave him no money.
Still got him a great deal. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I thought we'd pay him more after that, but hey, if we got him to stick around,
he's due at least 5, and he's making 3.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think our D line is something that's going to be upgraded as we head into free agency now. Are there any guys you've looked at on the defensive line or the offensive line that stand out to you?
I had see if I still got that. The offensive line, yeah. I mean, there's.
I know you like Will Fries.
Fries and Becton, obviously Dahlman. To the sleeper to me, I just don't know how Johnson feels, but is Evan Brown.
I'm not a huge fan. Have you watched a ton of his tape or not a lot?
Yeah, I have. And he's played, the last 4 years he's been a starter. 2 years at guard, 2 years at center. 1 year at guard, 1 year at center with Detroit, 1 year at guard, or 1 year at center at Seattle, 1 year at guard with Arizona this past year. So, and I know where you think the weak point is with Dahlman, and that's in pass pro. That's where Brown
gets bullied a little bit. I honestly thought I compared Brown. When I looked at Brown and Coleman Shelton last offseason, I liked Coleman Shelton over Brown. So to me, I just don't view him as an upgrade. I think he'd be an okay guy to maybe bring in as a bridge player for a year. But the guy that I think is a sleeper that no one's talking, well, there's two guys. One is the veteran, because Ben Johnson's comments were, we need to upgrade the center position. He said that on one of the podcasts he talked about. He said they need to set the tone for not only the run game, but also the pass game. To me, that kind of led towards Drew Dahlman. But one of the guys that's a sleeper I haven't heard anyone talk about, Packers center Josh Myers.
Okay, now, it's funny because I did him, and I posted something about it.
Did you? I didn't
And,
see that. Dang, I
yeah,
wish I would have saw it.
This was a few
Okay.
weeks ago, and I got, oh, the Packers think he sucks. Blah blah blah. You know,
His
all this
PFF
other stuff.
grades are low. I've heard it all. Yeah.
You know what? PFF grades are
I
the
know.
absolute worst. Anybody who I laugh at anybody who brings up a PFF grade
Mhm.
because it's totally meaningless. But he's a good solid player. He's a lot better
He's
than
only
what they got.
25 years old.
I know.
And to me, he's also the Packers' best free agent that's going on the market. So if you can weaken the Packers while also strengthening
Absolutely.
your own O-line, that's huge. But I haven't watched a ton of his. I will say I haven't watched a ton of his NFL tape. I don't find myself going and just putting on Packers all 22 film for fun. But I did watch every single snap he took with Justin Fields in college when I was going over Justin Fields tape years ago. And I thought he had the potential to be one of the better centers in the NFL. He was a
No,
guy.
he's
He was
a good player.
dominant.
He's been the starter since day one.
And I have watched his games against the Bears, and he's held his own against Trevon Dexter and Andrew Billings.
Yep.
So to me, he's a guy that he's a sleeper that I really like.
No, and he's a good name. He's a good player. Who's your other guy? You said
Another guy's Ryan Kelly from the Colts. Who
see? I think he's 32 and he's been broken a lot.
now see, but he's also a guy who he's played for like 14 or 15 quarterbacks during his years in Indy. He's a guy who's been one of the best centers in the NFL, and he's a guy who, while he wouldn't be our long-term option if we're planning on drafting a center, but like Ben Johnson said, we want to upgrade the position immediately, and you also don't want a rookie working with Caleb Williams.
No, you got to
So
have
if
you got to
bring
have
in
a
Ryan
better.
Kelly, and then you draft a center to learn behind Ryan Kelly. You can get Gray Zabel. You can get someone in the third round if you wanted to Jonah
part of it.
Monheim or
The
something.
thing is, at that position, there really isn't much in the draft, so it's more projecting a guy like Zabel.
Yeah.
Zabel, who was a tackle, never played center until he went to the Senior Bowl.
Well, no, he played center in high school actually.
Well,
I watched an interview on him. So well, he's at least done it, you know. I mean, it's different if you've never done it.
I know what you're saying, but it's still and he played, but he still played, except for one game a year, it was all against FCS competition. But he went to the Senior Bowl, more than held his own, showed he could do it. He's got the size, he's got the strength, he's got the attitude, he's a smart kid, no question. But when's he going to be ready to play at the NFL level at a position he's never really played?
Yeah. And I do think it would take him a little bit of time, but that's why I think having something like that situation, if you could bring in a Ryan Kelly to mentor him for a year, maybe 2 years, depending on how he holds up and how his body holds up, but you at least get a full training camp and half a season to 1 year where he's sitting there learning behind a guy who's been an all-pro in the NFL and worked with a ton of different quarterbacks.
I know that. And that I brought up Brown because Brown played for Johnson for 2 years.
Yeah. That's why
that's why I said, what's he think? If he doesn't like him, then fine. He goes out the window.
And that's another. I said the same thing about Jonah Jackson. I know you don't like. I know you're not a fan, but to me,
here's why.
What does Ben Johnson think? Yeah, and that's what if Ben Johnson likes him. Hey,
Rams give him a hell of a lot of money. Now this conversation goes back to October, and I got two guys who are on my staff, so guys I've known a long, long time, and are now with the Rams. So we get together, we talk. Sometimes we have a 3-way conversation stuff. So I bring this guy up, and not because I think he's going to be a free agent or get cut, because they gave him a lot of money. Both of them. Oh, he sucks. He's fucking awful. I mean, this is what they're saying. He said he was awful in camp, can't stay healthy. I mean, they got a mid-round draft choice, beat him out then. And so they're trying to ship him out. Now that right away, that's a big red flag. And so, what comes to my mind is this guy got a taste of money going to LA, and all of a sudden he shits the bed. Is this
we've seen similar things with Nate
Nate
Davis. Yeah.
Davis?
And that's why
Okay,
free
so
agency can be tough. You never know what a guy is going to do after he gets 30, 40 million dollars, because technically everyone knows it's something no one really ever talks about. But once a guy gets that kind of money, he really doesn't ever have to work a day in his life again. Now, some people aren't motivated by the money at all, but there are guys who are, and we've seen it. I don't want to throw Nate Davis under the bus, but to me, so the guy that I want to talk about, I wanted to ask you your opinion on, because you mentioned Ben Johnson, playing for Ben Johnson, and this is a guy who he's made a ton of money, but he's super old. What are your thoughts on Kevin Zeitler?
Okay, my thoughts are, if you strike out on the younger guys, then you go to him. But
Okay.
he's your last option.
Now, would you only
Because he's
sign him to a
35.
1-year deal, or do you think
Yep.
he's a guy you could maybe sign to a 2-year deal with no guaranteed money in the second year?
Well, yeah,
and
you can do
see
that.
if he can be a bridge guy.
Yeah, he didn't play bad. Now, he didn't play in the playoff game. He was hurt, which is what happens to the 35-year-old
And see, that's the opposite way around. Jonah Jackson started both of the Rams playoff games and graded and actually looked really well from what I saw from him. So,
but
he missed most of the season, but
you notice, though, they're not bringing him back. They just know they said, well, we made a mistake.
It's a huge
basically
cap
what they said. After how many times do you see a team give a guy money and put up the white flag after 1 year?
It doesn't happen that often.
That's right. That's a huge red flag.
Now, I will say his contract he's able to get out of it next year. You can cut him and save $17 million. But this year, you got to pay.
Well, he's not. Nobody's going to take on that contract.
Yeah.
You
think it'd be redone? I thought that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to end up being a post June 1st cut, so post June 1st designation, and then you might get him for, I'd give him what, $2.5-3 million, because he's stuck.
If the Rams end up cutting him, you can just sign him for a couple million. I'd definitely be in on that.
But that's what's gonna. Well, now you're not taking out a big cap hit,
and you're also not giving up a draft pick.
But I wouldn't give him a penny in bonus money.
Yeah,
because if he does what he did with the Rams,
him earn it. Yeah,
then you lose that money.
You want to do it incentive based short term deal. Yeah, 100%. I'd be behind that. But to me, I think Zeitler's a guy. We're getting back to Zeitler for a second. He's been an all pro. He hasn't missed a game in multiple years. He's going to be 35 years old.
Oh, yeah, he did. He missed the playoff game.
Oh, well, regular season game. Season game. There was a stat. Someone was throwing it around Twitter. He hadn't missed a start in however many games. It must have only been regular season. But he is a guy who's played.
They played the kid from Boston College, Mahoney or whatever.
Yeah, Mahoney. Yeah, I liked him. Him.
They played him at the guard position in the playoff game.
But he's a guy, I think Zeitler is a guy who can stabilize the position. He's a guy who can bring in, just like I was saying with Ryan Kelly. I think one of those two positions, at either center or guard, we're going to have to bring in a veteran like this to stable, because I don't want to go into the season having to have a rookie start. Now, if you can beat out an old vet, more power to you.
I have no problem. Now, if you take a guy, like a Membu or a Booker or somebody like that in the first round.
I love Tyler Booker.
Yeah, I like both of them. One is a better. I think Membu is a better athlete, better space player, but Tyler Booker. You know what he reminds me of? Quentin Nelson.
Ooh, yep. And hey, that's a guy we would have been super happy to get him in the top 10. But I don't think enough people are talking about it. But I do have Tyler Booker as one of my favorites on the list of guys we could take at pick 10. I think he's a plug and play day one.
No question. And he played for the guys they were looking at, all Trey Smith, Becton, Fries are all right guards.
Mm-hmm.
Booker's left guard.
Booker's left guard, yep.
Now, there is a left guard that's available. I have not done them, and I need to do them. Is the 49ers guy.
Aaron Banks.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I don't know if he's up there with Will Fries, but I do think he's a guy who has a ton of talent. I also need to watch more tape on him, but I have seen him showcase a lot out there. And I think he's a guy who definitely look better than what we had at guard last season. So
Oh
I am
yeah.
a Banks fan.
Somebody, or a couple people on X have tried to tell me that Will Fries is the Colts version of Tevin Jenkins.
Oh, I mean,
I
he
know
hasn't been super healthy, but I mean,
he had a broken leg. That's
yeah,
shit happened.
that's always different to me is when you have a major injury, something breaks, right? That's a major injury. It happens. You miss a lot of time compared to a guy who has, oh, he's got a neck injury, he misses a game. He's got a back injury, he misses 3 games. He's got a hamstring and he misses 2 games.
Right.
And they're always banged up and never healthy. Whereas when
That's
Will Fries
that's
was
not him.
healthy last season, he played every single game
That's
before
right.
breaking his leg this year. So
Right. And he had he had a broken leg. Yeah, well, so did Dean Humphrey a week later. And Humphrey didn't break just the tibia, he broke the tibia and the fibula,
yep.
where Fries just broke his tib. And there's been videos on X of Humphrey running. He's running damn good. And
Oh,
he's
wow.
had 1 week less of rehab time. He's probably 85% now, and it's freaking February.
Yeah. So if Will Fries can be healthy, I think I think he would potentially be my top target. I think right now
He is my
over Dahlman or just at guard.
At guard. To me, that's a
Yeah, that's why
story.
I was going to say he's probably my top at guard, but if I went just top interior O-line overall, I'd probably prioritize Dahlman up there right now, unless they're planning on going after Myers.
Dahlman's not going to cost as much as
we can get Dahlman in one of these guards for the same price that the Chiefs are paying Trey Smith.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be that cheap, but it'll be closer. Yeah, you are getting a twofer.
Yeah, and that it could help us out actually. So
I use SpoTrack just as a guide.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and I try to tell people. Sometimes they are pretty accurate sometimes, but
they are.
You never know. Especially with the cap
on the big guys, yeah, they're light. But they got Fries at like 14.7 or 14.8.
I think I have it on here.
And they could have changed it. They could have upped it with the cap going up. But
yeah, they got him over 14 million, and
he
could get that. He could also get up to 20 million in free.
You know where they got Dahlman?
Like Dahlman, they have it 12. It looks like.
No, they had him at 8.7.
Okay, they've moved it up. I think they have it at 12 now. But still not the.
You won't lose me. You're still seeing me, right?
No. Yeah, I can pull up. Dahlman Sport Track. Let's see. They have a couple. The website has a couple different ways of showing it. If you just click on them, it says 6.8, but if you scroll down, it has him as a base calculated value. It projects him to get a 3-year deal for about 38.9 million, which is around 12.9 a season. Yeah, I always go
because he didn't make any money last year. So I got market value. They got. I'm just clicking on it now. Come on, computer.
It's look at the one in the middle. So, the first it'll show the market
6.8, and then they got
now scroll down.
Base calculated length 3 years 38.9.
Yep.
So
that's the one I take.
12.5 average.
It's right around over 12 million. I feel like he could definitely get somewhere,
which is fine. And I think they got the way Becton played this year. I think they got Becton light.
They got him at 10, I think.
Well, they had him in single digits. Let me get into guards.
I put together a chart, and they had him somewhere around 10. I might have bumped it just a little bit because I think he's going to get at least 10.
Kai Becton. Okay, he made 2.75 last year.
Not very much.
Okay, they got him at 10.2. They upped it.
Yep.
But they got 4. But here's this on the base calculated value, 4 for 62.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 15. And that's where I think he's going to get is 15. Now, some people say, well, Brandon Scherf's play has fallen like he's a guy that's like fallen off the cliff as far as I'm concerned.
Now, he has been healthy finally, but his play has fallen off. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, why would you go after him? So I know, the one conversation I had with Poles is he does not like going after older players that have injuries and that have missed time because he goes, when he uses the analytics too, and I can't explain the whole thing, how he said it to me. He goes, but you're going to end up costing you money and you're going to be brokenhearted because, you're going to pay for a guy that's not going to be able to line up and play every week.
Yep, 100%.
And that's why I know, when he said that right away, and he told me this was 2 years ago. And when he told me this, I knew right away that, talking about Tevin ain't coming back. He's just, there's no durability there.
See, I thought maybe he was foreshadowing his signing of Nate Davis as well. That could have been one. But I think this year's free agency offers, the more work I've done on this year's free agency, I think there's a lot more talent in the trenches this year than there were the last 3 seasons at any point during Ryan Poles' career. I put together a list.
There's a couple defensive tackles, the pluggers, that are interesting, and they aren't going to cost money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I gotta.
Guys, like I have a list here. I could probably mention them on there, but one of the guys is the Broncos' DJ Jones. He's going to
cost. He's going to cost money.
They got him around $11 million. Yeah.
Yeah. But is he the slugger that they want? That they're looking for you got to figure. Okay, they need a big guy who occupies space, that type of thing. Where's the defensive tackles?
If you're looking for a cheap one, I could just off the top of my head, BJ Hill. He played for
BJ's going to make some money. He made $10 million last year, and he's going to be 30 years old.
He's a good run plugger, though.
Yep. But there's two. Guys played at Tampa and played at the Rams, been a good player. Greg Gaines.
Oh, Greg Gaines. I've talked about him last year. Yeah.
Okay. Then another guy is, now this guy got hurt, and after the Jets signed him, where the hell did he go? Lakey Fotu from Utah.
Oh, Fotu. Okay. Yeah. Another run stuffer. There's so much, and that's why I'm saying you're going so deep here. There's guys, even sleepers at edge and defensive tackle. Charles Omenihu. I really like Matthew Judon, Milton Williams from the Eagles, Hassan Reddick, Khalil Mack. I think is going to want too much money. I don't see him coming back.
There's no way Poles will bring him back.
But what about Chase Young, who worked with Dennis Allen over there in New Orleans?
That's interesting. It's the main thing he had with Chase was the medical. Dennis Allen had him. He had a good season for Dennis. So that's an interesting one. And, we'll know in 10 days because those are guys you're going to get, you're going to get the deals done on Monday.
Yeah. Well, here's a guy that's coming onto the market that I haven't heard anyone talk about. Now, he is older, 32 years old, but Ryan Poles was really interested in this guy 2 years ago. Javon Hargrave. He signed that huge deal with the 49ers. He got hurt, and now the 49ers are Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport both said they plan on cutting him. They are potentially interested in bringing him back at a cheaper deal, but that's a guy who is going to be making money from the 49ers this year, and he's going to be back on free agency at 32 years old, coming off an injury. Do you think Poles would be interested in signing a guy who was all pro just a year and a half ago and potentially getting him at a much cheaper?
Here's what you guys say. They're not looking for a guy to beat out Billings. They're looking for a guy to play with, in conjunction with Billings, so being on the rotation. So they always got a plugger in during the game. So when Billings is out, this guy's in. So let's say you're looking for a guy to play.
We still need help at 3-tech as well. I think Dexter can play some nose if we bring in more help at 3-tech as well.
Yeah, but I just think he's too tall to be the nose you want. He's 6'6". But that's Dennis Allen's concern. What I like those, the guy they got coaching the defensive line is a bitch. He's a hell of a coach.
The older Bill Johnson.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah. That guy is, man, he has more he has more experience than some teams' entire coaching
Hey,
staff.
he's almost my age, and I think
Yeah.
that's why he doesn't have the main job. So he'll be working in camp, but he won't have to do as much during the season.
Yeah, 100%. But there's just so much talent this year when it comes to the free agent class, and that's why I think we're poised to be big spenders this year. Even with a lot of people are freaking out about Trey Smith being off the market, but
I never thought he was going to be on the market. You hope that he is.
it's
But
always you cross your fingers, you hope.
Yeah, but I tweeted out. I said right day after Super Bowl, I go, "There's no way this guy hits the market."
Yeah, but
they can't afford to keep him. I go, "They're sure they can."
But I just touched on some of the D linemen that are available. We've already talked about a bunch of the O linemen, but it's a lot deeper class than any of the last few years. Drew Dahlman, Will Fries, Zietler, Becton, Banks. But you got guys like Josh Myers, Ryan Kelly. But I want to bring up a guy here that I haven't heard anyone talk about, Patrick McCarry from the Ravens.
I like him. I don't know if he's the athletic fit that they want.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying I want to find out the profile, because he's not a space player, but he's a hell of a player.
He played guard and center, and he's even played some
tackle.
Yeah, as well. Yeah,
but he's he's the guy that's going to make $10 million. In fact,
that's right. What I have.
It's not out of the question that you could sign him to play center.
Yeah, I would like that. Now, a lot of people have talked. Do you have thoughts on James Daniels, who we obviously Ryan Poles let walk his first season here?
Well, he let him walk because he wasn't going to be a fit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're still playing that outside zone, then he's not a fit. He's just not a good enough athlete. That's why I said I got to go back. That's why I love Tyler Booker, but is Tyler Booker a fit if they're doing a lot of outside zone?
That's tough. I think we're going to be more power, honestly. I think we're going to run more power.
I mean, if you look at Detroit's line, it's pretty damn athletic.
Yeah, they were. And he's already went and compared a comparison I've already made in the past, comparing Darnell Wright to Penei Sewell. And Sewell struggled a lot his first 2 seasons in the NFL, became a Pro Bowler in year 3. If Darnell Wright can take a similar jump under Ben Johnson, that would really help this offensive line as a whole.
Oh, no question. No question.
But we've covered free agency a bit. Yesterday was the NFL Combine. Did you have any guys who, I know you're not as huge into it, but were there guys who stood out or maybe got your attention yesterday?
Well, there's guys that, a lot of guys didn't work out that I wanted to see work out. So I had a group of defensive tackles that I, wanted to see, like Graham. He didn't work out. Walter Nolan just ran a 40. No, and he did the drills, but he didn't do the other stuff. He didn't do like the 3.
We saw him at the Senior Bowl at least, though.
Right. Yeah. Alexander's going to be 25. So that's scary.
A little older, yep.
Alfred Collins. Tell you who was interesting. Now he didn't run or anything, but he came in a lot heavier than he was in the spring because his tape is really good. It's Howard Cross.
Howard Cross from Notre Dame, yeah.
Howard Cross in the spring weighed 260 pounds when he was weighed by the pros. And he was 6'0", 285 with 32 and a quarter inch arms. 32 and a quarter inch arms on a 6'1" guy of decent length arms. And you can get away with shorter arms playing inside. You got to have the length outside. Josh Farmer, I like.
I like
Kenneth Grant didn't work out. Josh Farmer ran a 5.14. He only had a 29 vertical, but he had a 9.4 long jump. The guy from Oregon, Harmon.
Yep. I like Harmon.
Really good workout.
Man, he ran.
I like Pegues.
Under a 5.
Phillips from Maryland did not work out as good as I was hoping. And CJ West, I love. If CJ West was, I remember I did him probably in October for the agents I do work with. And I gave him a good grade. And then I sent a text to Poles. I said, if you haven't done this guy, do him. He's Billings. He's a younger version of Billings. And he sent back a text right away. He goes, I already know he's really good. And he's a local guy. He's a Chicago guy.
Okay. We have some non-Bears news. The Rams and Stafford have agreed on a new 2-year deal. He's going to stay with the Rams. I kind of figured that was coming all along.
What was what did he get?
It's from Albert Breer. I don't see numbers.
Okay.
Just said they reached an agreement.
Everybody in Vegas thought he was going to end up being in Vegas, but because it came out this morning that he had reached an agreement on money with the Raiders. So I'm sure the Rams just plugged that in.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it looks like I thought all along. I mean, hey, if he would have been traded, there's always news stories this time of year. They try to shake things up, but I really didn't see him leaving LA. I thought that was one of the reasons they were trying to get rid of Jonah Jackson, was to free up even more money to pay Stafford. But yeah, I thought him.
The other guy who's not going to get moved, and everybody thinks he's going to get moved, at least as of this morning, he's not going to get moved. Kirk Cousins.
Ooh, Cousins, really? Wait,
really?
Oh, I thought you don't think Atlanta's going to move on from him?
Well,
there's a lot of reports.
His agent's a good friend of mine, and I flat out sent him a text.
So he's staying in Atlanta.
I go, is he going to get moved?
They might end up just cutting him then instead.
No, they're going to cut because it costs him. He's got guaranteed money.
Okay, yep.
Where is it? Because I don't know for sure, but right now the Falcons are keeping him.
Ooh, okay. Man, that's the quarterback movement this year. They were talking about where's Aaron Rodgers yesterday. I had ESPN on yesterday. I don't know why I was watching it. It's because I was getting ready for the combine, and they were playing a rerun or something on NFL Network. So I went to ESPN, and they were talking about Aaron Rodgers is going to be the new quarterback of the Rams, and I'm just like, what am I watching here, man? Like, what am I watching? They were doing whole skits on how the Rams offense was going to look this year with Aaron Rodgers, and if he could potentially lure Devontae Adams here. I'm like, you guys are in a whole fantasy world here, like just crazy. Where's the real news reporting? But
the interesting domino in all this is where's Darnold go?
Yeah, that's the one. Do you think the Vikings try to pay up to keep him, or?
I don't know.
They're in a tough situation there. They
know.
Drafted JJ McCarthy, and I listened to Kevin O'Connell talking from the combine, and he was talking about every time I heard him talk, he was mentioning JJ McCarthy. So it almost sounded like he was either trying to put him out there too much to let people know like that's going to be our quarterback this year, or he's trying to fool people a little bit and get him off it. But
who knows? But
Darnold's definitely getting paid by somebody.
Yeah, it's who?
Big money.
It's probably not going to work. What's big money? I mean, because
Daniel Jones type contract, 3 years, $150 million.
Oh God, he's only had 1 year. I mean, the guy's. I get it. I get it.
You saw what Daniel Jones got. You see,
I know.
So I honestly think he's probably going to get similar to what Baker Mayfield got last year, because they had similar career trajectories. Both were busts. Both.
Yeah, but okay. Now using that just to argue a little bit. Baker had to have a bunch of years of some productivity. He got basically nothing for a couple of years.
True. But his numbers last year, they're similar. They were both top 5 picks. They both were let go of their current team. Then they both were in Carolina for a year, not doing anything.
Well, Darnold's been with like 4 clubs now.
Yeah, and then Darnold now has revitalized his career.
No question.
With teams needing QB, the salary cap going up, he could get a lot of money. So I think he's probably going to go somewhere else. I think the Vikings are going to stick with JJ McCarthy and maybe rebuild for a year or two.
I don't know. He had the year to learn, so it's not like he's a rookie. He's a rookie from the aspect of play, at full speed and bullets are flying, but he's had that year to learn. And that's valuable.
I still think he was underdeveloped coming out of college, even as a guy who won a national championship. They didn't throw the ball enough.
No,
he was handing the ball off 40 times a game sometimes.
Speaking of that, that big running back from Michigan, I really like.
The big one, Donovan Edwards, or different?
No, the other guy.
Oh, the other guy. Okay. You really like him, huh?
I mean, I don't like him second round. Like him, I like him on day 3 as a. Now he would be a hell of a compliment.
Did you see? I think it was Dane Brugler or someone tweeted today that he sees 4 running backs going in the first round. He had Genty, Hampton, Travion Henderson, and who was the third? Caleb Williams also going in the first round. Most after
Caleb, what, you mean the guy from
Caleb Johnson, Iowa? Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, I could see that. I talked to Kuiper yesterday.
Okay,
and he gave me some really interesting stuff, and I can't say it all because I'm betraying his confidence. But I mean, he gave me the guys that he has found out. I've known, just so you know, I've known Mel for 30 years. And when we were in Chicago, we always gave him our pick. And he always took care of us. And, he never said a word. I'd give it to him the morning of the draft. This is who we want. And if he's not there, this is where we're going to go, type of thing. So, and he would always praise the pick. So, you got
a little schmoozing with Mel Kiper to get him to hype up the picks, huh? Yep. Okay.
All the time. So he never say a bad thing about us. And
he did. I've heard him hype up some of our picks for sure over the years.
So anyway, he gave me the dirt on some guys too. And there's some guys that people think are, that probably will be high, but there's issues. And so it's buyer beware. And now one of the guys that he told me, a team guy, a scouting director, told me the same. He gave me stuff, and he just said, "I'll tell you off the air who the player is." But he says he's a wild horse that won't be broke.
That won't be broke. Oof.
He goes real tough to coach.
That's something that may anybody like that is not going to be a fit to the Bears, I will say, based on what Ryan Poles has shown over the last 3 years. And I think Ben Johnson, I think they're pretty much in agreement of what they're looking for. I think there might be some slight tune-ups to the players we're looking for and the athletic builds at certain positions. But I think he's also into. He likes athleticism. He likes length. Just looking at how he talked about some of the players on the Bears roster, I believe they're going to be in sync on that.
Now, the one guy I was disappointed in his size was number 11 from Georgia. What's his name?
Jalen. Michael Williams or Jalen Walker?
Jalen Walker.
Jalen Walker, yeah. I wish he would have ran. I thought he was going to blow away the 40
he's hurt. So, and those guys played late. They were in the playoffs. And Williams played hurt with an ankle all year. Mm-hmm. So his production went down. Both of those guys will tear it up. But Jalen was only 6'1" and 240. So it's like, okay.
But man, is he moves all over the line.
I know.
He can shed blocks. Even at 6'1", 240, I saw him against much bigger offensive linemen setting the edge. And
I was hoping he was going to be like 6'2.5".
6'2.5", yeah.
And he came out at even 6'1".
Do you think that's too undersized for the Bears?
Well, he's a good football player. There's no
What's
question.
Von Miller's size?
Von Miller's 6'3", almost 6'3".
Is he? Yeah. He's bigger. 6'3", 250.
I think Von Miller was like 6'0", something like that when he came out.
Because to me, Jalen Walker is he's probably one of the hardest guys to scout in this entire draft. I've seen some guys have him as high up as top 5 on their.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question the guy's a hell of a football player.
And I do project him. I have him as one of my 10 guys the Bears are going to consider at pick 10. I just don't.
When I saw the size, I got, oh shit.
Do you think it crossed him off the list?
I don't know. I can't answer that because the guy's a football player. Okay, now, what's he going to run? We'll find that out at the Georgia Pro Day. What was the guy? Oh, Dwight Freeney. He's the same size as Dwight Freeney. Freeney was a little heavier. Freeney was
one of the best spin moves I've ever seen. Yeah,
but that he's got similar size to Dwight Freeney. Now I was at Freeney's Pro Day. He ran in the 4.4s, but it was on a running track at Syracuse. It was in the old Manley Fieldhouse because basketball was going on when they had the Pro Day, and basketball takes over the dome, and so we had to use the Manley Fieldhouse, and he had they got an indoor track at the Manley Fieldhouse. Now, since then, they've got their own indoor facility, but this is going way back. Okay. And so he ran on a track, but he ran 4.4s on a track, which means, you add time to that. So he's, mid 4.5 guy.
And that was James Pierce yesterday running that 4.47 looking like a freak. But then he measured in with 32.5-inch arms, which is shorter than anybody that Dennis Allen.
Yeah, you know who had real short arms that's really good?
Who's that?
Parsons.
Michael Parsons.
About 31.5.
That's how Georgia uses Jalen Walker. They use him like Parsons. He moves around the line of scrimmage.
There are exceptions. You want length, but hey, the kid from Marshall Green's only got 32.
But he can do it all, man. I like Marshall. I like him too. I wish he would have worked out yesterday. Mike Green, he was another guy I'm really high on.
Yeah, I'd say that. Why isn't he working out? It's not like he was
at the Senior Bowl. So
yeah, unless he got dinged up. Some of it, I don't know who his agent are, but some of these agents are just saying we're going to wait.
Mm-hmm. Some of them just because they don't like. There's I've heard it before too from agents. Even when I went to the Senior Bowl last year and talked to people, there are guys who their agents just don't want them to work out because why? All you're going to do, they'll give them the advice that you're just going to hurt yourself here if you don't blow up the combine. We'd rather you do it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is what we used to tell kids, especially if we talk to them. On an interview before his workout, we ask, you going to work out? And some kids, I'm not sure yet. So we'd say, well, here's why you should work out. It's a test. If you ace the test, you're done. You don't have to do anything at a pro day. You just got to wait for the draft. You have a bad day, you got a makeup test at your pro day. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be held against you. Now, if you skip tomorrow or skip the next day and you go to your pro day and you don't have a good day, you're dead in the water.
Yep. I mean, you have no way to make that up. That's a killer point there. And that's some people hurt themselves by not participating in this.
We talk guys into working out just because of that.
Hey.
But if you got to look, if you look at the agents, and there's some, Joel Siegel, who's really a good guy and a good agent. He doesn't like his guys working out. Rosenhaus doesn't like his guys working out. Now, some of them will because the kid really wants to. But in most cases, they want them. Part of it is, the combine itself is very stressful for the players between interviews and the medicals and everything else.
Poking and prodding.
Yeah, they're on their feet a lot. So, okay, let me get back in a home setting where it's more relaxing. And they can blow it out of the park. But if they don't, they're in trouble. Now, one of the things we like about the combine, this is from the team's side, is when you're comparing player A to player B to player C, it's on the same surface, on the same day, at the same place. Everything is the same.
And you get to see them lined up right next to each other, all doing the same drills.
So when now we got to wait for Ohio State. Now we got to wait for, Michigan. We got to, the different guys. Now it's like, okay, the surface and everything, there's variables that take away. You don't have the electronic time like you got at the combine. So you're using handheld times. And a lot of guys are really good timing. It's just the comparison factor goes out the door a little bit.
It's also, I mean, it's just also a great time to get a chance to see all the guys in their own element, see how they react with other players, see how they compete in the drills, see how they hold up in the bench press, the 40. It's not, to me, it's never been, people will want to, this guy did this at the combine, so this is what he is. Use the combine and that stuff as a tool to go after the tape. The tape is always the most important thing in any evaluation of a player.
Absolutely.
But you want to see how, okay, you don't know, the tape isn't always, it's never the same for every player. You got different competition. You got guys who get double teamed, guys who don't get double teamed, teams that are playing with the lead. Some teams are playing where they're down by 20 points the entire time, and they don't have an opportunity to pass rush because other teams are just running the ball with a 20-point lead. There's a lot of different things that go into it, but the NFL Combine to me is a fun time to get to know the prospects better and help put your board together.
Well, I've said this 1,000 times, but the combine exists for the medical.
Yep.
The workouts are a bonus.
For me,
if we go back to when I started, I was at the first 33 combines, but we go back to the first ones in the mid '80s. We didn't even have the interviews that they have now. And then if you wanted to talk to a guy, it used to be like there were 3 or 4 different tests that people were doing, and you had a fight with other teams to get a guy to do the test because you try to grab what happens. The kids would come in and they do the Cybex as soon as they get in, and have a bunch of scouts waiting for them to get done with the Cybex. Then you'd grab and say, okay, you got to come and do this thing for us, yada yada. And then guys would get in a fight, literally get in fights. I mean, fist fights. And so I remember there's a guy that I worked with at the Giants who was a littler guy and an a-hole. And he gets in, I can't think of the guy's name, from the Lions, who's no longer, he's retired. Okay. But a bigger guy. And he played in the league. He was like a freaking lineman. And and it's like the guy I work with at the Giants is mouthing out to this guy. And I'm going, is he stupid or what? Because he gets freaking popped. And
oh wow, yeah, I love the combine. It's just one way of getting closer to the NFL draft. Yesterday was the defensive line, linebackers as well. Today we have, I believe it's cornerbacks and tight ends.
Cornerback, safeties. Corners are first, I believe, then safeties. I got it on my.
I had it somewhere, but I just don't have it in front of me.
I got it on a picture. The tight ends are last. I know that, but
I expect the tight ends to. That was one thing that was a little surprising to me, but something I think is smart, and I agree with the Bears meeting with tight ends. I just didn't expect us to meet with such highly ranked tight ends. I do think that we're most likely going to add a tight end, draft a tight end, but we've met with the 3 best in the draft: Tyler Warren, Gunnar Helm, and Terrence Ferguson. Those guys. Tyler Warren, do you think there's any chance he's in play at pick 10?
No. I mean, there's people who got him going before that.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
But I don't. I cannot. Especially, I mean,
I don't have him in my pool of prospects
until we know what happens in a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know what they're going to do in the draft.
And Poles said that himself, and they all asked him the question. He's like, we're still putting that together. Like, we're still putting our draft board together, and a lot of it depends on free agency. And that's why I usually don't do many mock drafts or even talk about it until after free agency. Once free agencies get here and we find out what holes Poles fills, during that period,
Right.
then you can start to narrow down the draft, who he's going to target, and you can really start to narrow it down at that point. But right now, I don't
I
think
want to
tight
go
ends
back
that
to
high.
one thing. I meant to, we're talking about Trey Smith, because
Yep.
I posted it last night on X. Last year, Kansas City put the tag, but it was a non-exclusive tag on that corner, and
Ladarius
then
Sneed,
traded him. Okay. We don't, Kansas City just said they're tagging him. They haven't said what tag it is.
Yeah.
If they put the non-exclusive tag on, he's for sale.
Yeah.
And now, what's it going to cost? It cost, I was talking to Aldo, we're texting back and forth because I came up with a trade. And this is all, fantasy football make believe. So I said, okay, I got one that I think Kansas City would go for. And you're giving up a slot, but you're not giving up a player.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, swap, take Smith, give them 10. They give us 31. Give them 41. They give us 63. And you haven't lost any picks, and you got a Pro Bowl guard.
And you just move down.
What that comes out to on the points table is the 15th, 16th pick in the draft.
I would do it. I mean, hey.
So I said I was playing fantasy football, which I hate playing, but
hey man, I mean, he is. I'm still kind of in the favor of signing two of these other guys on free agency and not paying all that money to Trey Smith. But hey, I when it comes
the
to
only thing
giving
is
up,
when guys taken out of the equation, the other teams that are in a need are still there, and now it's gonna push up the ante a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That's how the market, and I believe this year's free agency is going to be crazy. A lot of teams have money. There's more cap space now. It was only about $4 million over what was projected, but still a little bit more cap space for all the teams and a lot of players on this year's market. I think it's going to be a fun time. I'm hoping we really attack the trenches, and I'm excited for it. Next time we talk, it will be a few days after free agency.
We'll know. Well, I mean, by that point, they're going to be done with the first wave. By that point, they're going to be doing 1-year deals with guys.
Under the 1-year deals.
Yeah, but the guys are meaningful, that are important. Most of those guys will be done on Monday, even though it's not official till Wednesday. Yeah. It'll be done that Monday. And if you go back the last 2 years with Poles, he's gotten a guy done in the first half hour both times.
Yep, he did both. But he also
Swift was the first guy. It was like 14 minutes in.
It's also been staggered over about a 4 or 5 day period over the last 2 years. So we could still be a little bit in that or right towards the end of it. But free agency's coming. We'll be there. I'm ready. Day 2 of the combine is kicking off in just under an hour on NFL Network. If anybody watches that,
we're going to do, Aldo and I are going to do our show, in a week from Monday instead of at the normal 11 Central, we're going to go at 2 because we assume that there's going to be at least a couple new players.
Okay. Awesome, man. Awesome. I'll see you then. All right. Well, Greg, it's been always an honor to have you, man. I'm going to get ready to check out the combine. Another long day they're long days, but they go fast, these combine
days.
I'll
tell you, it's a little easier on the scouts. I tweeted this out. Used to be we had, you had to get up and be at, they used to weigh and measure in front of everybody. Now they don't do that.
Yep, I remember that.
Okay.
Yep,
so that was like the day the players would come in Tuesday, the next day that group would be weighed and measured, like it's starting at 7 a.m. So you had to get over to the dome for that. And then the workout started about 8:30. So long day, and you'd go until 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. You'd have an hour to eat, and then you did interviews till 10:30. And then, it was a long freaking day. And then now with the workouts being reversed, it's just and you're not doing any interviews after the workouts. I don't think so. I think your day it's a little easier on the body. I don't know if it's any easier for the players because they got to wait, to get their workout done. But if I'm a player, I'd rather work out at 2 p.m. than at 8 a.m. anyway.
100%. Yeah, I've never been a workout in the morning type person. I've done it before, but it's never. I never have as much energy early in the morning.
No, that's when I go to the gym. Is in the morning. I go at 6 a.m. when I go to the gym.
6 a.m. See, that's not me. That's not me. That's not me, Greg. Well, as
Plank said, hey, Swifty, I'm old, man. By 3 p.m, I'm dead.
Oh man, I've been going to bed earlier. I'm getting older, but as Plank said here, thank you so much, Greg. It's always an honor talking to you, man. Free agency next time. We're going to be right in the middle of it. I can't wait. And bear down, brother.
See you later.
See you later, my man. Chat. I'll see you guys.